Morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. In the chat, you should see the slide decks. So if you want to just click on that, it's also in Sched. You have it in various places. It's mainly good for afterwards, but if it helps you, there's a few links that you might want to use.
Yay. So loud.
And just as a heads up, it's going to go very, very fast. So it is recorded. And then also Brianna and I are going to be giving you lots and lots and lots of ways to contact us. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have questions later on, right? Because this is one of those things that you're going to be like, oh, that was a lot. It's okay. We know that, but it's going to be recorded. We also have tons of things for you to use afterwards, help, tips, all of that. So don't feel overwhelmed.
Lots of resources to share, overviews, videos, you name it, anything you may need now and tomorrow when you process all of this information, for sure. Lots to share, lots to cover.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2, your first breakout session of the day. My name is Cherry Cunningham, and I'll be your moderator for this session. I'm here to support both you and the presenter, so if you have any questions, please feel free to talk to me through the Zoom interface, through the chat, or if you need help with any logistics with the event, you can also go to that help icon on the Sched app. As your presenters they so graciously already put the link in for their presentation, so that's already in the box for you. If not, it also is on Sched, so you guys have 2 options there. Please note that this session is being recorded as well. The title of this session is Classroom 101. And here are your presenters from Oxnard Unified School District, Brianna Davis and Verity, Oliff. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that they can take over.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
So I'm going to make this go away. There we go. And nope. See, you clicked the wrong button just to start. So we will go with present. All right, so welcome. My name is Verity Oliff. I teach at Rio Mesa High School in Oxnard. It's about an hour north of Los Angeles. It's on the coast. It's beautiful. I live, though, in Los Angeles, in the city of Van Nuys. Not so beautiful, but I like it. And I'm an English teacher at an IB World School. We have the middle years program, the diploma program. I'm also an ed tech coach at our district. And at our school site. So if you want to reach out, that is my Twitter. At the end, I have my email. And in May, I became a Google certified teacher or trainer.
And my name is Brianna Davis, and I am a high school history teacher, also in the Oxnard Union High School District, just like Verity. I teach in Camarillo. where I also happen to live. And there's my Twitter handle as well. And then actually for me, it was just in July that I officially became a Google certified trainer as well. So I know from personal experience that I have been using Google Classroom for, well, ever since our district started it. So that was what, 3 years ago? And so that's kind of what makes us, I guess, certified experts. I'll use that word loosely, but all right. So I think we're ready to get started. Verity, let's go.
I was one of the reasons why we got it at our district. So I've been using it a few years longer just because I really, really like Google Classroom. All right, so Brianna's going to start us off on building our site. I'm going to be the person in the background showing you what it looks like as she talks.
Yes. So we have created for you today an actual sample Google Classroom. But in order for you to access this sample classroom, we are going to need to ask you to use your personal Gmail account. So if you have a personal Gmail account, we're going to need you to log in to that, that account, because you cannot access this Google Classroom from a school-based Google.
Did I lose you, Brianna? All right.
From the
Is it Cherry? Is it me or Brianna?
No, Brianna is frozen. So do you want to
Okay,
take over for until she comes on just a little bit?
absolutely. All right, so there. Are you back?
yeah, did I go somewhere? Where did
Yeah,
I
you
go?
were frozen for us.
Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness.
Brianna, you might want to
Okay.
try turning off your video if that'll help your internet connection with the lag.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. Okay, now you can't see me, but that's okay. So what you see right here is you see Verity's screen. If you are in your personal Gmail account, you are going to want to go to classroom.google.com and you'll see an option to join a class. And that is the code you are going to use. If you don't have a personal Gmail account, just kind of watch and play. You can use these same steps for creating your own classroom when you use your school account. So if you go to Google, classroom.google.com, or you go to the waffle, which is where Verity is right now, and you click on Classroom, you'll get several options. You'll get the option to create a class, or you'll get the option to join a class. And Verity's going to put, so the plus sign there gives you two choices: join a class, create a class. Because we've created this in our personal account, you have to kind of essentially say you're not going to use it for students. So you are not students. Verity is typing the class code right now. So it's the same one, JTOZ 3WZ. And that will get you into our sample class, for lack of a better word. And then you're going to join that class. You're going to use that same basic feature to create a class as well. So when she saw the options to join a class or create a class, this is like the Google Classroom homepage. Because we're in her personal account, she has to make sure she's not using it for actual students. She's creating it. She's going to give it, you don't have to section it, but you can put a subject next to it if you have more than one class. So let's say you're middle school or high school teacher with more than one section and more than one prep, I guess we could say, that would make it much easier for you. You can create that class. And then this will show you, this is all of the classes that Verity is attached to, that she is either enrolled in or that she is the teacher of. So we've done adding a class, we've done creating a class. Now we're going to quickly show you how to archive a class. So once the year is done, the easiest thing that you can do is go to this homepage and click the 3 dots in the right-hand corner. And those are the choices that you have to move it. So you can also organize this homepage in whatever order you want, maybe period, maybe by the year. You can copy the class if you want to just reuse an entire class again in the future. And then that last button is to archive it. Archiving it does not delete it unless you go to the next step. Archived classes are always there. They're in the hamburger. So Verity just clicked on what I call a hamburger and waffles, just in case, you know, you like food analogies. I happen to. And the archived classes are always at the bottom. And that will show you any class that you have archived. All it means is students can no longer, they can't really turn anything in. You still have records, you still have a copy of it, but it is no longer accessible to them as students. So I'll give Verity the choice there. Once it's archived and you are officially done with it, you can delete it and then it's gone forever. All the work is still there, but the class itself is gone. So in our Google Classroom, oh, I don't like this. Internet connection is unstable. In our Google Classroom, we are going to organize those classes, and so they are movable in any direction you so choose. So you can organize them in any way you want, putting them however you so choose. You can do just about anything.
Brianna, can I just interrupt you for just a quick second?
Yeah.
We have some people in the chat who the code is not working. Can you repeat it just one more time for us?
Yes. Verity, there you go. She's going to make it really large.
Perfect.
And it's only going to work if you are in a personal Gmail account. So if you are trying to access this code, if you are trying to join this Google Classroom Basics RCOE, and you are in a school Google account, or a Scoogle account, as I affectionately call it, you will not be able to join. So you must be in a personal account. Perfect. None of you can see me. I took my video off. Once you're there, we're going to kind of also show you the to-do list. So we're going to talk about lots of different things. Let's do the theme first, Verity. So once you create a class, whether it is as the teacher of the class, you then have power to create things and to do things. So in that header, so it's Google Classroom Basics, you can click on the button that says Select Theme, and Google has already built some for you. You as a student, so you are technically enrolled in this class as a student. You as a student don't have the ability to do that. But if you were teaching and creating a class of your own, you absolutely can. You can actually play and you can create these beautiful Bitmoji classroom headers if you're into that Bitmoji craze. But fair warning, if you do that, it will darken the header. So Google has some that are already built in for you, and it'll change kind of the overall color scheme of your entire Google Classroom. And notice that gallery has general, it has English, it has math and science. And if you don't like any of the default ones, you can upload your own photo. So that's the bottom picture there. And if you upload your own photo, there's many templates that are available online if you do want to create the Bitmoji version. In the spring, I animated mine and went a little like overboard, I'm not gonna lie. But that is the header, which is going to show up in the stream. Let's go to the to-do list now. So we're gonna go over to the hamburger. No, that's Classwork. Come on, Verity, read my mind. No, I'm just kidding. And in the to-do list, this is a way for students to know everything that they are required to do. And it is going to actually organize it for them by due date. It is going to organize it as a student. From the student perspective, the to-do list tells them these are all of the assignments that I have been given that I either have done or I still need to complete. And it'll tell them when the due date is, if it is organized by due date, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. As the teacher, you can use the to-do list to kind of keep track of how many students have turned in an assignment, how many students have completed work, and that gives you kind of a check, a visual check of like, oh, hey, I need to actually make sure I do that. The to-do list is great for organizational purposes. And from a student perspective, it does give them a way to keep tabs and to make sure that they've actually done all of the work that's been assigned to them. So it's right there. It says to do, and it kind of tells a student everything that they need to do after you have assigned it. Now we're going to talk about settings for a little bit. Settings, there's a lot of settings that you can personalize as both a student and a teacher. So we're going to start with the settings, yep, in the left hand from the hamburger, the settings in the hamburger. So you can go ahead and click those ones. These are the these are the general Google settings where you can change your profile picture and notice email notifications. This is a huge part of Google Classroom. Your students also have this same option. So Verity just toggled it off, meaning she doesn't want to receive any emails from Google Classroom. Now, that sounds like a good idea, but you would miss out on very important information. Like you would miss out on invitations, you would miss out on a lot of different things, especially if you're using Google Classroom for feedback. If you turn off email notifications, your students will never know that you've left them feedback. As a teacher, you can personalize this. So notice you can turn them on and off. So comments on your posts. If a student has a question and they don't want to reach out to you, they don't want to email you individually, they can just write a comment, and that would then send you an email, and you have the option to either, you know, reply or read it and know what they're saying. If they are mentioning you, notice Verity turned that one off. She doesn't need to know if you're talking about her behind her back, and you know, no, I'm just kidding. That would never happen. But any you can personalize this. Classes that you're enrolled in, if you want an email that your teacher has posted an assignment, then you can turn that one on. So any one of these, you can go through this, you can toggle them on, toggle them off. If late work is something that you just don't want to know that it's late, Google Classroom does not lock it. So when we talk about assignments next, and you post an assignment and you put a due date on it, if they turn it in late, Google will automatically send you an email unless you turn that off. You can also personalize this for each individual class. So those are all of Verity's many classes. There's an invitation to, Verity, can you scroll to the invitation to co-teach a class too? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Invitations to co-teach classes. So if a teacher has asked you to be a co-teacher in their class, you're going to probably want that email notification because they have reached out and said, this is something that I would like. I need that in my life, right? So you're going to want that. But if you post something and it fails, you don't need an email notification because Google will find a way to let that work. Now, Verity, can we go to the other settings too, the class settings? So these are all like the email settings more than anything. We're going to go into today's class. And then here's another setting. So there are two settings cogs. They look identical, but the one on the classroom page is going to be unique to this class. So this is this particular class. If I taught first grade, I would set up these settings to be like first grade words. I would use language that a first grader, could understand. The class name is how I title my class. If you have the integration, if your district has syncing between Google Classroom and your student information system, they may already do that for you. So you could go in and add a description if it syncs and all that great stuff. In the general settings, so you can customize sections, rooms, subjects. In the general settings, this is that class code that we had you all join our class, but there's also that little arrow. So if something were to happen and maybe your code was, you had students who were absent that day, you can copy that code and send it to them, post it somewhere else. You can reset that code if you just feel like, this wasn't, I wanted something easier to read or whatever it may be. Disabling it would mean that no one else can join that class at that particular time. So you can display it, making it really large like we did in the beginning. Then we have the other, beautiful. We have the other general settings for the stream. Now the stream is the first landing page, and you want to make very sure that the stream, you can set who can actually post on the stream. So you can give students the ability to comment. This is kind of a maturity level question, like, are they going to be responsible enough? You can give them commenting abilities. You can do just the teacher. So if you don't want students to have that ultimate freedom, then you can just lock that down, for lack of a better word. Then notice also, so Verity's giving you commenting abilities. Thank you. For classwork on the stream, this is the biggest way of saying, you know what, I want to keep the stream clear. I don't want to cloud the stream. I don't want to muddy the stream. If you think about it like water, you don't want your water all dirty. So if you click on hide notifications, the stream will be just what it is intended to be. It will be for announcements, for major breaking news. It will not be showing the students every single thing. So if you show condensed notifications, it will literally tell them everything you've posted. If you show attachments and details, they'll get all of it and more. Condensed just gives them the short little brief version. Because we are also, I prefer to hide all of my notifications because I don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. The other thing that you can do in the stream from your school account, so we cannot do that in our personal account, is we can actually create a unique Meet link. So Verity, do you have the other one open? Okay, so this is Verity's school account, and from her school account, she can actually create a unique Meet link. And that will give her the ability to actually have times and have her students be able to meet with her. And it's in the class settings. It will now create a very unique link that applies only to this class. And she can then set whether or not that's visible to her students. She can reset that Meet link. If it seems to be that it got maybe compromised in some way, shape, or form, she can then also say if she wants it visible or not, and everything is right there. Because she's also in her school account, she also, Verity, can you just, not to grading right now, can you scroll back up for me real fast? She can turn on, there it is, Guardian Summaries. So she has the power, so they are on. You can, we're going to talk about that later, but you have the power to decide whether or not your parents and guardians get a email from Google with their with the notifications. So that's it for me. Verity, I'm going to let you take it away with classwork.
All right, so hello everybody. So in regards to classwork, I'm going to show you from my school account, but you'll notice it's the same in the one that you're looking at, just because there's more things and this is more accurate to what you're actually going to be doing. So if we look at the school account, you'll notice your next section is classroom. On the classroom, sorry, not classroom, classwork. On the classwork page, you're able to see that you have several columns. You can see that I've prepared this for next year. I organize mine topics by the week because I have students that are absent often, or things occur, or they just weren't ready for the assignments at that time and I want them to go back. There's skills they need to know. So I do my topics by this. It looks like a lot, but all the student has to do is decide on, oh yeah, that was week 1. They can simply click on it and all they're going to see is this week's assignments, or they can see all of them. The way you do this is if you click create, you'll notice that you have a selection of things. In this one, it's the bottom one. You simply click topic. When you click topic, you can have anything you want. So in this case, I might say it's going to be quarter materials. It'll probably be the syllabus, things like that. So I can add it and it's going to come on top. If I don't want it on top, I can always just drag it to anywhere that I want it and you will see that it moves around, and then I can just drop it and it'll be there. So it's one of those things that's very flexible, especially on a computer. You're able just to drag and drop. If you decide I don't like this, you always have the option to rename, delete, move up and down from this direction, also depending on how your ability is with using the mouse. So you have that option. If I decide that I want to do other things, I have basically 3 things I can add. 4 mostly. I have the assignments that I can use. So if I click assignment, this is where I can actually make the work for the students to turn in. So assignment has some benefits. So for instance, in this case, it's going to be assignment 1 is test. I can write in my instructions here. It's great. You can number things. You can make a list so students know exactly what they're going to be doing. There is a downside. You are not able to use bullet points. And so with the bullet points, it sometimes gets confusing. So a lot of teachers have come up with hacks. And so what they actually use is they will use an emoji instead. And so if I decide instead that I want to make sure my students fully are able to do something, say it's a reading assignment, I know my students, if I just write it, they may not pay attention. If I use the emoji, they're going to see, oh, it's books. Missa wants me to read. So right there, I can put that in. I could also use that instead of the number so they know right away, clear it in. I know a lot of teachers will put that in like the title or in the topic itself so students know what they're looking for. As we know, we're driven by imagery, and so it just helps to organize things. So it's a great way to organize. I have the ability under assignments to add from my drive directly. I can add a link from another website. I can also add a file. This is probably going to be a picture that's residing on my computer, or it might be a PDF that I'm having students annotate or read. I also can add directly a YouTube video. In my class, I rarely will add a YouTube video. I use Edpuzzle because I want to make sure they're actually watching it and interacting. So I always add the link portion, but you can just add a YouTube video. You also have the ability, if it's not something you've already made, you can click create. And on create, you have docs, slides, sheets, drawings, forms that you can create directly in Classroom, and it connects to your drive. So it makes it much easier for you if that's the one way you want to do it. I usually like making them in my drive first and then bringing them in, but some teachers I know just make it here. It's much faster for them that way. On the far right side, you have the ability, as you can see here, of deciding, do I want to send it to every single class that I teach? I can do that. I can just click this and then go through and send it to them. So they'll all have that assignment. I have the ability of choosing if I had a list of students. So let me change it to a class This class doesn't have it. But if I had it, I'd have the ability of choosing students, not having it go to everyone, but just to specific students. So this works really good if I've manufactured groups for this assignment. I may have the assignment 4 or 5 times. On my Google Classroom, the student will only see it once because I've only assigned it to a specific set of students. A lot of teachers are using this option as a hack to allow for multiple breakout rooms using Google Meet. As we know, Google Meet doesn't have the Zoom feature of breakout rooms, but if you create several Google Meets, I can assign 6 students, 5 students to those rooms. And this is how I can assign it, is by using the all students or selected students button. I also can choose of having a grade category. So you can see on here, I have formative and summative based on the reading standards for 10th grade. I can choose what this assignment's going to fall under. I also have the ability of changing points. My classroom, we work on a rubric system, so I can actually put in what it would be according to the rubric that they're being graded on. I can also choose ungraded, that this is just an assignment I want you to do for practice. There is no grade involved. I just want you to do it. You're going to get feedback. I also have the ability of choosing the due date. I can choose the date itself, and once I choose the date, I'm then given a time. It defaults to 11:59 p.m. I have high school students. I still don't want them to stay up till midnight rushing, because I know my students, they love playing the Russian roulette of games. We use another program called Turn It In. It locks it. Google Classroom does not lock, but students will wait till 11:58 and 57 seconds to see if they can get in. Why they enjoy that, I don't know, but they do. But in my class, I usually set it for 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something somewhat reasonable. That way I'm not setting a bad example. I want them to sleep. I know they're probably on TikTok, but I want them to sleep. I also have the ability of assigning it under a topic or creating a topic. And so I can do either one. I also have the ability of adding a rubric. I can either create a brand new rubric for this assignment, or I can reuse a rubric from any other class that I am a teacher in. So in my department at our school, the English department has created rubrics that we all use. We have a classroom dedicated just to rubrics. So if you notice here, I can reuse a rubric from that specific class. So all I have to do is toggle. I can go to my rubric class, which is here for my 10th graders. If I click on it, you'll see I have a bunch of rubrics. I can just choose which one I want to use, select it, and then it's going to be added. And all the students know is it's a rubric. They don't know that it is from another class. It's a general rubric, we use it. If you are a Google for Education Enterprise district, you are able to check for plagiarism. It's called an Originality Report multiple times. If you are not, our district is not, we do not pay for that. Then we're given 3. So I would save this for big assignments, maybe a large essay research project. And what it does is it just compares the student's writing to Google itself. You'll know where the student looked it up if there is, and I'll tell you how often there's similarities. So basically it's just a similarity report. At the top, you'll notice there's assign. I can click down on that. I can assign it. I can schedule it for a future date. I usually make my assignments on Sunday night. I have them scheduled to release Monday morning. I drive a long distance, I commute. And so if I get in an accident, my assignments will still always go out. I don't have to worry about like, the kids don't have something. They don't have to worry. It'll be there for them. You can schedule it ahead of time. You can also just save it as a draft. So say you start working on it, you're not done. You can save it as a draft to let it release later on. And then you can also discard it. So in this case, I'm going to discard it, and then it's just gone. You don't see it anymore. Other options you have are quizzes. So you can actually start assessment from within this window of Classwork. You can create a question, which is basically having a threaded discussion. So when you click on it, you simply are given the same menu. It's very similar. You can do the same thing, put in your question, put in instructions, put in some sort of focus material. You can decide, do you want it to be short answer or multiple choice? You also have the same up here. These are all the same. And instead of Originality Report and Rubric, in this case, you have students can reply to each other so that you can actually have that threaded discussion, or you can have students can edit their answer. I have this on most of the time, but students have found that they can just put a period, submit it, see what all their classmates have done, and then go back and write a better answer. So sometimes I mix it up depending on if I want original thought or I want collective thought. If you want original, just make sure that students know that students edit your answer. So what you put in is your answer. The reason why they like to game the system or hack it is because Google does not allow students to see other responses until they submit. So there is that caveat there. So you have to decide on your student base. You also have the ability under Create of material itself. You'll notice we use that in our classroom we've provided to you. That is where our one-pager is. That is where our slide deck is. Basically, it does not allow students. It's just as consumption. They don't have any work involved. And then you can also reuse posts. So if you make it in one class, you can just reuse it over and over again. One thing I forgot to share in assignment is when you do decide to make an assignment. So I'm going to add something from Google Drive. When you make an assignment, so I'm going to add this new assignment. You'll notice that you have 3 options. I can share it with you. So basically you can view it, it is consumable. That's all you can do. You don't react to it, you just consume. You can also do it as edit, which means that everyone can collaboratively work on it at the same time. Great for collaboration. Bad if your students don't know how to handle each other and decide to erase the work of others. So you want to make sure you have those discussions ahead of time. And then finally, the best one is make a copy for each student. It's the same as you going down to the Xerox machine and making a copy for everybody. If you make a copy for each student, every single student will have a brand new document in their drive that they can work on. Google automatically puts their name on it, so you never have the no name problem. And it resides in your drive in a very specific folder called Classwork. So it doesn't clutter your drive. It's in a drive, it's in a folder all by itself called Classwork in your drive. I think that is everything for Classwork.
Verity, can you also, can you get rid of the blue lines? It's kind of freaking people out.
It was from your thing, but sure, we can clear all drawings. There, no annotation for you.
I didn't do it. But how did I do it?
I think it was.
And ladies, do we have time for some questions before we go to the next section?
Of course.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question that we had was, where did it go? Okay, there it goes. How do you archive a class?
So if I go to classes, remember this is what she called the hamburger or the pancake. You can scroll down, go all the way to the bottom where you see archived classes. That's where they'll be housed. But to archive them, all you have to do is click on a class from this window here where it says classes, where you get the tiles. When you have the tile, you click on the 3 dots, scroll down, and where you have archive. So I would just click on that and it'll automatically archive it.
Thank you. The next question is, will our students/parents have to use Gmail, or can their parents use their other search engines like Yahoo?
Parents can use any email that they want. We're going to talk about that in the next section, so we will happily show that. Students do have to use the school account if they're on a school Google Classroom. So like our students, in order to see it, they have to use their school account. If they use a personal one, it will not let them in. The school district has that control on it.
Perfect.
By having the students be in their school Google account, it also prevents parents from getting in and, essentially doing the kids' work for them. So it's kind of a lesson in training students to make sure that they are logged into their school account, because that way they won't have access to any of their assignments.
Perfect. And then Amy asks, if you want the same Google Classroom with your new students, but you don't want your past students to use it, do you use the copy option?
Yes, that is where you'll notice here, I set up one class and then I just copy it, in this case, 4 times, actually 8 times. And you'll notice that none of these have students because I don't have students right now in summertime, but I just create it once and then I modify it for each of my periods. So if I did have a class, like this is what I taught last semester, I could easily just copy it. And when I copy it, it'll be the same class, but no students involved. And it'll have a different class code, but all the material will still be there.
Perfect. Gail has a question about what are the steps to invite students to your classroom?
Brianna's going to cover that next.
Okay.
Yep.
Then Robert asks, our district does not allow us to use our Google email address. Can we set it up to receive email on a non-Google email address?
Oh.
Yeah, that one stumped me too, Verity.
If it's a district account, like, does your district allow to use Google Classroom, then you would have, that's a very strange thing. I want to say no, because it's all housed together. And I can't put in, like, that's the problem. That's why I have to have both screens right now, because I can do certain things with my Google Classroom, and then there's things I can do with my private classroom, and the two do not talk to each other. Like, they do not even want to talk to each other. So I'm going to say no.
Okay.
You might want to press your district to let you use your email.
Then Marilee asked, how did you get the emojis in the classroom?
That's a whole separate lesson. You have to create from either a Google slide or a drawing, and you actually create it to the right specification. So like you can see here, this was my classroom that I had this year as soon as we went on distance learning. This is what Brianna's talking about, how it grays out. It gets a little darker. But I gave students suggestions. I put in my Bitmojis. You just drag them from the Bitmoji over here. I don't have it turned on right now to save space, but you can have the Bitmoji extension. You drag it in, but you have to build it on slide or build it on drawing, and then you just do what we showed at the beginning, where you upload a photo and it uploads it here.
Perfect. And then Sarah asked, can you repeat how to make breakout rooms when assigning an assignment?
Yes, that's a whole different thing. So you would have to go to basically Google Meet. You would make several breakout rooms. So breakout 1, breakout 2, breakout 3. You would have those in your Google Meet. And then when you are making a classwork assignment, so you click classwork, you would click create. You would make an assignment. And then here where it says all students, so like this would be breakout 1. And then over here where it's the students, I would actually decide that I don't want all students in breakout 1. I want only 4 students. So I would just choose those 4. So only those 4 students are going to get this assignment. And then that is where once you assign it, you would then do the, I don't really want to assign it. I don't know if it will work for them. Oh, well, they'll not do summer work. It'll be fine. So now you see it here. I very easily can decide to do create. I'm going to reuse that post. I'm going to use it from this class itself, which was my 3rd period. I have breakout 1 here. I would simply click on it. I'm going to reuse it. And in this case, I'm going to not have all students. I'm going to make sure I don't choose those 4. I'm going to choose the next 4. And then that's how I would just go through my entire, because I have my entire class here. I would just assign them all, and I would change this from breakout 1 to breakout 2. And then I would assign it. So in my deck, I'm going to have all these assignments. My students are only going to have the one that I assign to them.
Perfect. And you actually covered 2 questions that were asked in that one, because the next one was going to be how to reuse a post. The next one is, I archived my class from last year, created my new class for this year, and all of the classwork assignments from last year are listed as drafts. Should I delete those? I would like to keep those if needed.
Yes, you don't just have them as drafts. And then when the time comes, that's where you're able to assign them. So they don't have them all pre-assigned, because I don't want to give my students work from May in September. So they're all as drafts. And then when the time comes up, that's when I'm able to assign it, when I get to that material.
Perfect. Then Marilee clarified that the emoji she was referring to were the small ones that you used when you were creating the
Oh,
assignments, i.e. the book for read. Is that also an extension?
yes, that is also an extension. If you're on a Chromebook, you can actually just do right click and emojis pop up. I'm on a computer, so I have an extension called Emoji Keyboard so that when I click on it, I get my emoji here and I simply can just choose what emoji I want.
Perfect. And then Zanelle asked, how do I do a live class?
Oh, like actually do Meet Live, I would
Yeah,
assume. So when you go back to your stream, all I have to do is click on this. And when I click on it, it'll become live instantly.
perfect. And then Sarah, who also asked about putting about those draft assignments, she says, thank you, but will my new students see those?
They will not see them if they're drafts. They will only see them once you assign it.
Okay, and then we have a question. I have an aide. We will be leading small groups at the same time. Do you have a secret way to have 2 Google Meeting codes within one Google Classroom?
That is where you're not going to want to use this. I had that same problem this year. So in my classes, like this one's activated, but if we go to any of my other classes that I actually taught, you'll notice, oh, I think I put them on because it's summertime. But yeah, I put them, this one here, you see how there's the eyeball? Like they do have this here, but the students can't see it. That's what the eyeball means that's crossed out. So I actually never used it. For summertime, I turned them all on because I want kids to be able to have meetings with each other, with me if they need to. But you actually, if you want to do multiple at a time, you would actually go to like here, you would just go to meet and you're going to actually just create a meeting and you'll get a code from that. So when you create the meeting, you'll get a code and then you would just use that. Remember I showed in the assignment, the link, that's what you would use.
Perfect. All right, well, that is all the questions for now. Please go ahead and continue.
All right. Attack, Brianna.
Okay, so can you, we're going to talk about adding students and we're going to talk about parent guardian summaries right now. So notice there's the stream, the classwork, and then the people tab. The people tab is what we're going to talk about right now. And what I would suggest, so in the people tab, there's 2 choices. There's teachers and then there are students. And at the teacher tab, you have the ability to add co-teachers to your classes. And the reason I strongly encourage that is if you are an elementary teacher and you have, you know, an entire team of first grade teachers, you can all co-teach each other's classes. That's going to make it easier to share posts between both of you. Verity, there's 2 N's in my name. You also have the ability to then create a blank classroom as well, where you guys can work together collaboratively and just post a bunch of stuff and then allow each other to copy it into your own individual classroom. Co-teaching a class is also great in the event that somebody got sick, that there's still somebody who can take over that class in the event that you were unable to. Then notice there's the student tab. So we have teachers, and you can have up to 25 teachers in a class. And teachers have the authority to add things to the Google Classroom. And then students. And you can invite students by email. So if your district has that email turned on, seems like that may not happen for some of you, you can use the join code that we also showed as well. And this in the student tab is where you can also get your guardian summaries. So if you have students who are, you know, under the age of 18 and you have email addresses for their parent or guardian, you can actually send them you can email all the guardians. So once a student has their parent email in the system once, that email will stay with that student until they leave your district. So we are a high school only district. If a freshman teacher uses Google Classroom, then that parent will be in the system until that student leaves after their senior year. And they will always continue to get guardian summaries. I have 2 children myself. I have a second grader, and an incoming 7th grader. And I actually get a weekly email summary for my son. So you're actually seeing it on Verity's screen. Usually I read it and delete it, but as a guardian, as a parent, I have access to see every single assignment, every single thing that was posted into my son's Google Classroom any week of the year. And actually Google will give parents the choice of a daily email or a weekly email. I choose weekly because I'm just gonna scroll through it. But if my son did not turn in one of those assignments, Google will actually notify me in my summary. And they will tell me, hey, you didn't, and then I can actually, you know, remind my son, hey, you didn't turn that in. And then he will very quickly go, oh, that was a mistake. I'm really sorry, Mom. But the parent guardian summary is a wonderful communication tool that you as the teacher have the ability to turn on or to turn off. But for communication purposes, I turn it on. You can change the email. If a parent changes their email address, you have the power to go in. If somebody mistyped it when they were freshmen or like kindergartners, you can always change it. Those three little dots there are they're magic. So I can invite a guardian, I can remove a guardian. So if it is the incorrect address, I can remove that person and then add in. They will then be sent an invitation from Google. For students and inviting students, you can actually email everybody on that list. You can email all the guardians, and you have the power as a teacher to pretty much decide who gets information and when they get information. But I'm strongly encouraging, and I have done this in my own department, we have a Google Classroom that is just the social science teachers. And we are putting resources and lessons and materials that we can then borrow and steal as a kind of an extra step and an extra layer in terms of if something should happen to one of us, that we have the ability to share ideas with each other. So that's it for people. We have like
the last one is grades. I know we're going really fast.
Yeah, we have like a minute too, I think.
You'll notice here that we have grades set up. This is a classroom that we're all multi-teaching. So you'll see that as a teacher, you see the missing assignments, that all the teachers have missed everything. Some of our students have too, but mainly it's all the teachers that are not doing their assignments. But it works that way. If I want to set this up, all I do is I go to settings. I can go down to grading. This teacher that I'm in the class of has no overall grading. I can instead decide to put in points, put in category. I can add my categories, as you saw that I had done previously. You can decide on how you want to set it up. So grading is up to you. Some teachers don't use grading at all because their student system uses grading. It's separate. Maybe you want to have them integrated together. Those are different questions that you'll have to know based on your district. And so that really helps us in that way see the different avenues of what you can do in regards to grading. When you are in an assignment, you're able to, oh, all of these are material. Here's an assignment. When you are in an assignment, you'll see that there's turned in and that there's assigned. Assigned means the student did not click the turn in button. It does not mean they did not do it. So you always want to be careful, make sure you look. If you notice up here, you'll see all that were assigned. You'll see all assignments and you'll see those who turned them in. In my class, oftentimes students don't click that turn in button because they know that it's a feedback open classroom. And so in this case, I'm going to click all. I can see every single student. If I click on one student, hope Anthony doesn't mind, he's a great kid. You're able to truly see everybody's work. All I have to do is click through and I can just switch to each student. I can then proceed to give a grade if I wanted to. I can add comments. As you can see, our librarian has added comments. I can add to those comments. If I decide, I can actually reset the total points from this window here. I can look at it in a folder thing. I can see the history of how the student has improved it. So there's a lot of different things that I can do for the grading aspect. In my class, lots of feedback. Very rarely is there a grade because we're a feedback built classroom. And then I can decide to return it. I can return a bunch of students at the same time, but I also have the ability of doing this from this window here. If I decide to return from here, it's so much easier to add comments. If I do a big batch, I can just add a comment in. I know we're running low on time. I think we're almost done, if not over. So is there any more questions, Cherry?
No more questions, but if you ladies want to put in your email or contact information into the chat, that would be helpful. And again, we thank you so much for your expertise. Even me as a parent, I feel like I learned so much to now tell all the teachers at my daughter's school. Again, we appreciate you ladies so much, and thank you for this session, and thank you guys for joining us. We will see you guys at the next session. Thank you.
And for those that are just leaving, there's a bunch of, the last slide has tons of things that make grading and feedback faster. So there are a bunch of extensions you can use, and then plenty of things that integrate. So you have it all available to you. And as we said, here's our emails, here's our Twitter. Please reach out to us if there are problems, or you just need someone to guide you through on a simpler basis.
I tried to respond to all questions, but I don't know if I got them all. I'm sorry, but there are our email addresses. There's a one-pager in Google Classroom too that kind of has like words, but videos that go with it. So definitely find that. It's also on the SCED. So I linked that to our presentation on the SCED, but there's resources, videos, how to do all of these things. So make sure that you add that to your Google Drive as well. And now I got to get to another meeting.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.